Hi there, Nick Klosky from Honeypoint 3D. Today we're going to be going over one of the most requested things that we get from people that don't know about design is how to turn an image on the internet into a 3D printed object. So we're going to be using all either open source or free software today, most notably Inkscape, Fusion 360, and some Mesh Mixer. So let's jump into it. Every Monday, I get an email in my inbox from Creative Market here with free things that I can download. So today I'm going to be using this Leaves and Branches pack, which was free this week, to turn those into some earrings for my wife. So I downloaded this pack. It has some vector files, it has some images, but today we're just going to be doing it with images because I want to show you how to convert just a normal image file. I'm going to bring up Inkscape. So Inkscape is an open source alternative to Adobe Illustrator. And I'm going to bring in the image here. I'm just going to drag it into Inkscape and just click OK. I'm going to embed it. Kind of drag it up here. And let me zoom in a little bit. So this is a nice little leaf image, but it is just in an image. It's not a vector file, anything like that. It's just a JPEG. So with this image selected, see, it can be not selected. I'm going to click on this image, make sure there's a little box around it. I'm going to go up here to Path to Trace Bitmap. So this brings up another little box here. Let me resize it so you can see it. And you need to make sure that your image has a little box around it, otherwise this won't work. So I'm just going to click on Update here. And this is what would happen if I ran the command right now. Now there's different things right here: brightness, edge, color, or brightness, colors, and grays. You can play around with these. Different images will have a different effect. For something like this, if I turn this all the way up and click Update, that is not what I want. But if I click one down on this and click Update, it gets a little bit better. I get some fuzziness around the edges, which I probably don't want. So for something like this, where I just want to turn the outline into something that I can turn into a 3D model, I'm going to go to Edge Detection and just click Update. That's not that good. What if I turn it all the way down? No, not that good. If I turn Edge Detection all the way up, also not that good. How about color quantization? Well, maybe that's getting a little bit down there. Let's go down to 2 colors. That's pretty good, right? So it's either taking, it's either a color or not a color and turning that into a vector file. Now I want what I want to be black, so I'm going to click on Invert here and click Update, and there we go. I'm going to click OK now. And I can close out this window. So now if I move this new thing away, you can see that we have a vector image and the original image. So I'm going to click on the original image and hit Delete to delete that. Now one thing, when you do import it, I'm going to scroll out a bit here. So you see this document is pretty large, right? We have a little image inside of a essentially big piece of paper right here. So I'm going to go, with this selected, I'm going to click on File, to Document Properties, and something will pop up on either a window or something, but you want to go to Resize Page to Content right here, and with your object selected saying Resize Page to Drawing or Selection. And you click on this, you see now the page has dropped down. So we're just going to save this, go File to Save, and we're going to go up to my desktop and say that this is leaf.svg. It's already saving as an SVG, and click Save. So great. We can go out of Inkscape. We don't need this anymore. For this, I'm going to be using Fusion 360, but there are other tools like Tinkercad and all of that that will import SVGs. But with Fusion, you can actually edit this. So Fusion is a pretty complex program, but I'm going to show you how to edit this pretty easily. So this is Fusion 360 now. This is just the default window that it comes up with. I'm going to click on Insert SVG right here, Insert SVG. And it asks me what plane I want to put it on. I'm just going to put it on the bottom plane here, but it doesn't really matter. But it's probably easier to put it on the bottom plane. You see there's different little squares that highlight. Click on that. And then this little folder here where it says Insert SVG, we're going to click on that and click on the leaf. And you can kind of size it right here. You can see that this is already coming in at about 150 millimeters, probably too big for earrings, so I can scale this down to something a little bit smaller. But we can resize it later. And then click on OK. So what happens is the leaf comes in as a essentially a path. Now, if you look real closely, you see this isn't really connected right here. So we're probably going to need to fix that a little bit. All of these little green things are points, but they're green because they're fixed. So I'm going to drag a box around the entire object right here, and then just right-click anywhere inside and say Fix Unfix. So now these are black and these are actually changeable. So if you wanted to, drag one of these out, you could and change the size of any of these objects and all of that. So I'm going to undo that a couple times because I don't really want to change that. But we're just going to fix this little thing right here because we want these to be connected. And really, you don't have to do anything with erasing or anything like that. You can just do some lines or some circles or some splines. I could do a spline inside of here and go like that. These are overlapping, but that's okay. We can kind of mess with that a little bit later. I pressed escape to exit out of the spline tool, and now I can move these, or if I click on any of these, I can kind of change how these transitions happen to get these little controls right here. And that's good. So we can have these overlapping areas, or you can go to the trim tool. So the little arrow under sketch right here down to trim or hotkey T. You can just click on each one of these little lines right here to trim them away, which is probably a good idea. And I'm going to trim all of these here and press escape. Oh, see, I forgot the ones up here. Sketch down to trim. There we go. I'm going to just press escape and click somewhere outside, and now we have a nice contiguous area. So I'm going to say stop sketch up here in the top right, and we have a sketch. Again, this little square up here, if you click and drag it, lets you rotate it. But if you see, if I hover my mouse over, this entire leaf turns kind of orange. So if I left click on this and then right click on it and say extrude, I can pop this up to be, 3 millimeters tall. And click OK. And there is my object. So right here under bodies on the left-hand side, if we turn down that arrow, we just have body number 1 right here. We can right-click on that and say Save as STL. And you usually want to always have the refinement saying to high. And if you have Mesh Mixer installed, you can certainly send it right there. So if you say Send to 3D Print Utility, it'll allow you to select whatever you have. So MakerBot, Cura, Print Studio, or Mesh Mixer. So you can actually just send it right there if you want. I tend not to do that. I tend to just want to save it. So I click OK. It asks what to save this as. Leaf file, like that. And then I can I can double click on that and bring up Mesh Mixer. And here's my leaf inside of Mesh Mixer, where I can go and do all sorts of things to it. Now, I have other videos in our training sessions about how to deal with a file like this, which is not really the best for sculpting. So if you try to hit this with a sculpt brush, it kind of like really messes up the model. But I talk about how to deal with that in our training. So that is something that's pretty easily overcome. But you can go and 3D print this, or go and add some little earring holes to the ends of this if you want. But this is how you get your base geometry that you can then, add whatever you want with. You could put this on top of a ring. You could add, different little circles right here for earring holders, or whatever you need. So hopefully this is a good little workflow to go from a picture into a base 3D model, and then from there you can use all of your other skills and tools to create this into whatever you want. So hope you have a good day. Talk to you later.